In today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the feedback mechanism. So, we'll see what are the different types of feedback mechanisms that involves with the regulations of different types of physiological activities. Let me start with some basic concept. What do you mean by maintaining equilibrium? Or what do you mean by equilibrium? So, it actually means keeping the internal conditions of the body stable and balanced, even when the external environment changes. So, this is a very common things. The body needs to maintain a constant internal environment. Even there is an external environmental changes. So in these discussions, we will see what are the different types of mechanisms that involves to maintain the stable and balanced internal body environment. Let me start with some basic concept. Living organisms have the ability to sense and respond to changes in environment. Yes, this is very common characteristic features of living organisms. The cells of living organisms functions their best in a constant and balanced internal environment. So obviously, for every different type of living organisms, it is very essential to maintain a stable state so that each and every different organ systems can act their best. Organism must maintain a steady state. That steady state is called the homeostasis. And this homeostasis is very vital for the survival of any type of living organism, right? Now say cells, tissues, organs and organ systems, they must work together in a coordinated fashion to maintain that constant balance inside cells or inside body. Take me one example, like the changes in temperature. What we see or how the human body responds in altered conditions or in altered temperatures. Like in case of cold temperatures, human responds by shivering to increase the body temperature by muscle movement. So there is a coordinated activities in these particular conditions, and that coordinated activities actually helps to maintain or improve the temperatures that is essential for the body cell or for the body. At the same time, if you see the response by human body in this particular hot temperatures, humans may respond by sweating, and which is very essential to cool off the body temperature, right? So these are two important conditions. In that particular conditions, human body responds in opposite way so that body can maintain the optimum temperatures which is essential for the survival of the cell, survival of the organ systems or the proper functions of organ system. Now, question is, what is the mechanisms that involves to maintain that constant balance or homeostatic balance? Yes, we have a specific mechanism called feedback mechanism. So what do you mean by feedback mechanism, right? A feedback mechanism is a physiological regulation system, and this physiological regulation systems is very common in all types of living body that works to return the body to its normal internal state, commonly known as the homeostasis, right? So this physiological regulation system not only involved with the regulation of a single system. This physiological regulation systems or homeostasis helps to regulate the activities of all the different type of physiological system in all the different type of living organism. Now, if you see the types of feedback mechanism or types of regulatory mechanisms, there are mainly two different types of regulatory mechanism: negative feedback mechanism and positive feedback mechanism. Other than this negative and positive feedback, another one is feed forward mechanisms. All these three is equally important to maintain the homeostatic balance. Now, let me explain the negative mechanism first. The negative feedback systems involves the detections of an undesirable condition and the response to make that conditions ideal. Yes, the physiological systems may face different type of undesirable situation. So, in that particular conditions, we have a specific mechanisms. So, using these negative feedback mechanisms, we can maintain the balance. Here, the most important rules of this regulatory system or regulatory mechanisms is the detection of an undesirable condition first. After that, the response to make that conditions ideal. Negative feedback means the body fixes changes by doing the opposite of what happened. Yes, I think now the terms is very clear what exactly means the negative feedback, right? This is a very common example that usually used to explain the negative feedback mechanism. The rule of thermostat. The thermostat is an example of negative feedback system. What is the exact explanations or how this thermostat is usually used to explain the negative feedback regulatory mechanism? The thermostat, it is basically a device for regulating the temperatures of a system so that the system temperature is maintained near a desired set point temperature, right? A very important term, set point. So for every different conditions, if it is related to the variable temperature, the set points is a desirable point, right? That needs for that particular system, right? So here, thermostat is a very common example that is used to explain how this thermostat usually used to maintain that set point for the particular system. See, what are the most important components of that negative feedback or negative feedback regulatory system? The most important components are set point, control center, which is also known as, you can see from here, control center or thermostat, then effector, that is here, or so-called effector response, and the variable. Now, let me explain every different point. The first one is called the set points, as I already mentioned. Set point, it is the desired value to be maintained. So here, the desired value for that particular system is 200 degrees C. And here the variable is temperature for that particular system, right? So, for the proper functions of that particular systems, the maintaining of that set point temperatures is very vital, right? The control center, so thermostat. What is the rule of that control center or what is the rule of that thermostat? It detects changes in the variable and compares it with the set point, right? So, you can see here, suppose this is a set point of a particular system. Here it is 200 degrees C. So, any changes in that particular set point temperatures is detected by the control center. Here it is thermostat, right? After the detections, it compares with the set point whether it is more than set point or less, right? Accordingly, it takes some decision called the effector response. So who is the most important, or what is the most important part of that response center or for effector response? That is the heater here for that particular system, right? So it executes the corrective action, right? Either it turns on or off to restore the balance or to increase or decrease the temperatures of that particular system. Here, for this whole systems, what is the variable? Variable is the room temperature. Here it is the 20 degrees C. Clear? Now, that room temperatures. Now, these systems, if I compare with the physiological system, so yes, it is analogous to the body temperatures in physiology. Clear? So, in case of physiology, the internal body temperatures or body temperature is around 37 degrees C. Now, we will try to compare how these mechanisms is related with the negative feedback regulations in physiological system. See here, in two different conditions, like this is the first conditions, and room temperature falls below set point. So what was the set point temperatures? It was around 20 degrees C or 20 degrees C. If it is below set point, immediately that conditions is detected by the thermostat or control center. Immediately it will take some corrective action, right? So the thermostat decides the corrections is needed. So temperatures is less than set point. So after that, effector response means it turns the heater on. So this corrective actions leads to increase in the room temperatures towards the set point or near set point, right? So this corrective actions ultimately allows to get the optimum temperature which is required for that particular system. Clear? So this is called feedback. As the temperature rises back to 20 degrees C, the thermostat again senses it has reached the set point and turns the heater off, and ultimately preventing overheating, right? So this is how thermostat or negative feedback mechanisms helps to maintain internal body temperatures when it is less than optimum body temperature. Now, when room temperature rises above set point, see again, this is the set point. So immediately it will be detected by thermostat or control center, right? So thermostat decides the heater should stop because here temperatures is already more than set point temperature. So what would be the effector response? Effector response is it turns the heater off. See here, it turns the heater off. So due to that effective response, immediately there is a sharp decrease in the room temperatures, and that decrease in the room temperatures allows the temperature returns back to set point again. Clear? So here again, when temperature drops back to 20 degrees C, the thermostat turns the heater on again if needed. So the same mechanism acts in human system. Same mechanisms acts in the living system. We will see by taking some example. This is a very common path called HPA axis, hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, and that axis is very vital to maintain some endocrine function, right? And this is a common negative feedback mechanisms found in endocrine system, right? If you see this system, there are multiple numbers of hormones are involved in this particular HPA axis, right? The most important part here is hypothalamus, like a thermostat, right? It's like a thermostat. It decides whether any changes is required or not based on the assessment of other conditions, right? Here, the assessment of the level of some stress hormone like the cortisol, glucocorticoid, right? Under certain conditions or in stress conditions, if you see the level of endocrine hormone, mainly the cortisol hormones levels changes, right? So based on the level of that hormone, the hypothalamus decides whether it needs to secrete further or not. Clear? Now let me explain in detail. See, this is called endocrine negative feedback mechanisms. In these endocrine negative feedback mechanisms, the most important thing is the relationship between the stress and the secretion of glucocorticoid hormone, right? And this stress and the secretions of glucocorticoid hormones or these negative feedback mechanisms can be explained by this HPA axis, right? Here you can see under this particular condition or during stress, hypothalamus releases a specific type of hormone called corticotropin releasing hormone, right? From that particular conditions or from brain, you can say. Then after that, pituitary gland receives that hormone and releases ACTH. See here, the pituitary glands, we know the most important endocrine gland which secretes a different type of hormone. So like ACTH is a pituitary hormone, but the secretion of that pituitary hormone depends on the level of or availability. The adrenal cortex responds to ACTH. How? By releasing glucocorticoids, mainly the cortisol. It means the secretions of that or release of that glucocorticoid hormones is influenced by ACTH, is influenced by CRH, right? Now, suppose the level of glucocorticoid either more than required amount or less than required amount. So there is two different conditions. In that two different conditions or based on that conditions, hypothalamus will react, right? Because the secretions of this stress hormone cortisol from adrenal cortex is fully influenced by hypothalamic CRH. Clear? And CRH secretions is influenced by a condition called stress, right? So here you can see after the secretions of that cortisol hormone, cortisol helps the body handle the stress. How? By changing some physiological event. So what are the physiological event? These events are either increasing the level of blood glucose, suppressing inflammatory state, as well as boosting energy supply. So these are physiological changes. That changes are influenced by that hormone, right? Now, so what is the negative feedback here? What is the negative feedback here? You can see when cortisol levels become very high or high enough, right? Means it is more than optimum level. Then only it will send a signal back to the hypothalamus. You can see it also can send a negative signal to the pituitaries too, right? So both the conditions, both the negative signal will prevent the secretion of CRH as well as ACTH that ultimately controls the secretions from adrenal cortex. So this prevents the body from making so much cortisol. In previous case, what we have seen, there is a high level of cortisol or glucocorticoid. Now, due to the negative feedback actions, the adrenal cortex secretions falls down. That ultimately helps to maintain the optimum level of that glucocorticoid hormone or cortisol hormone. So it ultimately leads to cortisol level returns to the normals and body maintains hormonal balance. Alright? So the balance of a particular hormones is very vital for the physiological systems, because as we have already seen, these cortisol hormones involves with the different type of physiological event, right? So now the regulations of those physiological events are influenced by amount of that particular hormone, right? Now let me take another example. How the level of blood glucose are regulated. Yes, if we see the whole mechanisms, in that case also, the negative feedback mechanisms played an important role to maintain the optimum amount of blood glucose. So, like previous one, here also an important hormone is insulin. Glucose intake occurs during digestion of the food that is needed for the energy expenditures to perform the physiological or physical activities, right? The pancreas is the key organ that regulates the glucose levels in the body by secreting two hormones. One is insulin and glucagon. The liver also helps to store the excess glucose in form of glycogen to be utilized later. So, three important informations given here. The first is the glucose is essential for physical activities because it is an important energy source, but the regulations of the glucose is influenced by two important hormones that is secreted by pancreas, and the hormones are insulin and glucagon. Other than this, if you see the role of livers played an important role because the excess glucose can be stored as glycogen inside liver. Now see how this insulin and glucose acts in a coordinated fashion. See here, eating cake, obviously sweetener is there, so obviously it will elevate the blood glucose level, and that particular condition, it is a physiological state, and that physiological state stimulates or influences some endocrine gland. Here it is pancreas. Mainly it will stimulate a specific type of cell. So what type of cells? This is the beta cells of pancreas. So this excessive glucose level or increased blood glucose level leads to the secretion of insulin from pancreatic beta cell. And that insulin, as I mentioned, insulin is very vital because it helps in the absorptions of blood glucose. So here you can see, in presence of that insulin, it stimulates the cells to take up glucose from circulating blood. Mainly here you can see the muscle cell mainly involved here, and these absorptions of blood glucose ultimately lowers the blood glucose level, which is an important negative feedback mechanisms that helps to restore the optimum level of blood glucose in circulating blood. Clear? This is the fast cycle of this particular negative feedback regulation. If you see in this particular case, so here initially the level of blood glucose was less. So that particular physiological state will stimulate another important type of cell called alpha cell of pancreas. So stimulations of that pancreatic alpha cells will release another important hormone called glucagon, and that glucagon stimulates the liver cell. As I mentioned, the liver cells act as a storehouse for the excess glucose, right? It stores the excess glucose as glycogen. So glucagon stimulates liver cells to release glucose into the bloodstream. So there is a formation of glucose from stored glycogen in presence of that glucagon hormones. So it ultimately leads to changes in the blood, circulating blood glucose level again, right? And that allows to improve the flowing glucose, right? So this is how the insulin, glucagon and the blood glucose level acts in a coordinated fashion, right? Now from these slides you can summarize what are the two important hormones involved with this negative feedback loop. One is insulin that lowers the blood glucose level, another one is glucagon that raises the blood glucose level. The opposite actions of these two hormones helps to maintain the normal blood sugar levels in the body, hence maintains the homeostasis of the body. The main intentions of these mechanisms is to maintain the homeostatic balance. So to maintain the optimum level of blood glucose, both the insulin and glucagon hormones acts in an opposite way. Now see, another important example. The regulations of waters and the role of kidney. So this is very common structural phenomena. The kidney plays an important role in maintaining water regulations. Here the most important structure is the nephrons, structural part of the kidney, and it filters the nutrients like salts and amino acids in the Bowman capsules into the ascending lobes, and ultimately it filters the urine. So this is the functional characteristics of nephron. Now question is whether any type of mechanisms is involved here that maintains the formations of concentrated urine, that involves in the formations of diluted urine. Yes, there is a negative feedback mechanism. So if you see the most important type of hormones that involves in the regulation of water balance is called NP-diuretic hormones or ADH, which is also known as the vasopressin, and that vasopressin is secreted by again the pituitary gland, and it acts on the nephrons to conserve water, and it regulates the tonicity of body fluids. Now if you see the whole mechanism, see here two different states. One is less water in blood and another one is excess water in blood. So in case of first one, when the blood contains the water levels is less than required or optimum levels, it will stimulate a specific type of receptor called osmoreceptors, and that osmoreceptors are basically located into the hypothalamic structures or hypothalamus, which is the center, right? And that hypothalamus, or after the stimulations of that osmoreceptors, it sends specific signals to the pituitary glands for the secretions of that specific hormone, right? Pituitary gland secretes high level of ADH, and ADH makes the tevil more permeable and more water is reabsorbed back into the bloodstream. So here the changes of the permeability into the tevil is influenced by ADH. So permeability changes allows in the reabsorptions of water more and more. Due to that reabsorptions of waters, it produces the concentrated urine. Now we could say the formations of that concentrated urine involves different conditions. The first conditions is less water in blood. That conditions ultimately stimulate specific receptors, and obviously that receptors is present into the hypothalamic area. Here it is osmoreceptors, and stimulations of that osmoreceptors influence the pituitary glands for the secretions of related hormones. Here it is ADH. If you see that particular conditions, when the water levels is more than optimum or excess, it will again stimulate the osmoreceptors in the hypothalamus and send signals to the pituitary glands to control the pituitary secretion. So here you can see it leads to the lower level of ADH secretions from pituitary, and due to the low level of ADH, it alters the permeability of the tubule. So due to the changes in the permeability, there is a less water reabsorption that ultimately helps to produce the diluted urine or dilute urine. So this is how the concentrated urines and diluted urine formations are regulated by negative feedback control. This is how ADH played an important role in the formations of both the diluted and concentrated urine. Another important example is the regulations of body temperature. The most important characteristics of animals is we are homeotherms, right? What does it mean? It means animals that are capable of maintaining their body temperatures within a given range. Though there is changes in the external environmental state, the body can maintain its optimum temperatures. So the animals are homeotherms, right? And here obviously the mechanisms involved is negative feedback mechanisms. Most important type of receptors involved are thermoreceptors. What is the physiological changes that occurs with the changes of temperature? In these particular conditions, you can see there is a vasodilatation. So here there is a changes in the diameters of the blood vessels near the surface of the skin. There is a dilatation of the blood vessels, right? So, and due to the increased surface area, the large surface area allows heat to be lost from the blood. That ultimately lowers the body temperatures. This is one physiological changes that helps to maintain the body temperatures. Other than this, sweating also involves the balance of body temperature. You can see here the changes. When the level of temperatures is very high, there is changes in the diameters of the blood vessel, right? So this means there is a loss of more heat due to the increased surface area, right? At the same time, you can see how sweating helps to maintain or to loss in the body temperatures. See, most important phenomena, you can see when your body is hot, sweat glands are stimulated to release sweat, and this liquid sweat turns into a gas and it evaporates. Here most important things, there is a formation of layer, and that layer actually forms just above the skin layer. See, there is a evaporations of heat, and that evaporation process actually lowers the rise temperature, right? That allows to maintain the optimum one. Now another important state is called the decreased temperatures. Like previous one, in that particular case also there is some changes in the blood vessel, but instead of dilatations there is a constriction, right? So the decreased temperature causes vasoconstrictions, and other than vasoconstriction, a minimal heat loss occurs, which helps in the maintenance the body temperatures. So here's another important part called piloerection. So both the vasoconstriction and piloerections helps to improve the body temperatures, and temperatures, initial temperatures was not optimum, less than optimum or less than set point temperature. This is how it actually happens. Initially the vessel diameters was more, but there is a constrictions of the diameter, and this means less heat is lost from the surface of the skin. Now like this, in case of this, you can see in case of piloerection, there is a formation of insulator, and this prevents the heat loss. Now other than negative feedback mechanism, as I mentioned, another important type is positive feedback. Up to previous section, if you have any doubts, please feel free to ask. Which one? This one. See, in this particular case, the most important phenomena is, see, this is when the hairs on your skin stands up. It is sometimes called ghost bumps or chicken skins. These hairs traps a layer of hair next to the skin, which is then warmed by the body heat. So this is what I have shown here. There is a formation of layer of air, and this layer of air actually prevents the heat loss. Now see, positive feedback mechanisms is the second part of this discussion. So what is the basic definitions of positive feedback mechanism? It means the body's response increases the original changes instead of stopping it. It means, see here, initially the body's response increases the original changes instead of stopping it. But in case of negative feedback, what we have seen, it was just opposite, right? But it was a continuous phenomena. Now, if I take some examples, then it will be more clear. Like the contraction during, we can say, maturation or during childbirth. When a contraction occurs, the hormone oxytocin is released into the body, which stimulates further contractions. See, for the birth, the contractions is very important, and that contractions is influenced by a specific hormone oxytocin. So what is the most important features of this positive feedback is, when a contraction occurs or initial contraction occurs, the hormone oxytocin is released into the body, which stimulates further contraction. This is what is positive feedback. But in case of negative, what we have seen, if there is an increased level of certain parameters by the negative feedback mechanisms, it helps to return back, right? But yes, there is a further contraction. This results in contractions increasing in amplitude, and not only amplitude, the frequency of the contractions also increases. So another important examples of the positive feedback mechanisms is blood clotting. So if you see this positive feedback loop, it is initiated when injured tissues release some important signal chemicals, and that signal chemicals activates the platelet. That is very important for the coagulation, right? So here you can see there is the initial release of some signal chemical, and that signal chemical activates the platelet. Now after that, an activated platelets again releases chemicals to activate more and more amount of platelet, that ultimately causing rapid cascades and formations of blood clot, right? So here the more amount of platelet formations which is required for the blood coagulation are influenced by a condition called the release of signal chemical, which is a part of feedback mechanisms. Like this, the same things you can see in the lactation process. Lactation involves the positive feedback, so that the more the baby suckles, the more milk is produced. So here the suckle is a stimulation. More the baby suckles, it will produce more amount of milk. So these three are the most important example that is related with the positive feedback mechanism or positive feedback regulation of physiological action. Other than this, another important one is feed-forward mechanism. So what is the meaning of feed-forward here? It means the preparing or adjusting for something before it happens based on prediction. Means in advance body prepares to tackle the situation. So here's, unlike feedback which reacts after something happens, feed-forward acts in advance. Like hunger is an example of feed-forward. So in that particular conditions, what is the most essential thing? The essential thing is the availability of certain types of digestive enzyme. So body in an advance produce certain types of digestive enzymes, right? So this is a very common examples that is used to explain what is feed-forward, which is not like a negative feedback, which is not like a positive feedback, but it is similar to feedback. So this is what is today's discussion. Now, if you have any queries related to the discussions, you can ask.